I was driving through Nevada a few months back. It was late and I was tired. You know that feeling when the road just stretches on forever? It was just me and my rig on those empty highways. I hadn't seen anyone in hours. I pulled into a rundown truck stop at midnight, needing fuel and a quick coffee. The flickering neon sign promised good coffee. I walked in. It was quiet inside, except for the whirring coffee machine. I sat down at the counter and ordered. As I waited, I noticed a figure outside. A hitchhiker, I thought. He had on a faded jacket and shadows hid most of his face. When he walked in, a chill ran through me. He looked straight at me. "Hey, Mark," he said. "You've been driving a lot." My heart dropped. How did he know my name? I shrugged it off, trying to convince myself I was imagining things. I left the stop and got back on the road, but the feeling didn't go away. Every time I stopped, he was there, lurking nearby, watching me. I gripped the wheel tighter each time. I couldn't shake the unease. Around 2 a.m., static crackled on the radio. At first, I thought it was broken, but then I heard it. "Mark, Mark." Cold fear crept over me. I twisted the dial, but each station felt wrong, filled with whispers. It felt like they were calling my name, taunting me. The road felt darker, twisting in ways I didn't remember. I could barely breathe. Shadows flickered at the edges of my vision. I did my best to brush it off, just my imagination, right? I glanced in the rearview mirror. There he was again, the hitchhiker, standing outside my cabin, smiling like I was some kind of joke to him. I slammed the accelerator, but the darkness thickened around me, pressing in. I looked back again. He hadn't moved, just standing there, tilting his head like he was deciding something. "Why don't you stop for me, Mark?" he said again. His voice was like ice crawling on my skin. I whipped around, panic rising. Nobody was there. I felt my heart pound in my chest. Where was he? I forced myself to look back to the road. My headlights illuminated nothing but blackness. Suddenly, the truck felt small, the cabin closing in on me. I could hear my own breathing. I needed to get to safety. I took a deep breath and hit the gas again, but the road felt endless, twisty, like it was bending around a dark corner. Glancing at the rearview mirror one last time, I saw him again, closer this time. That same unsettling smile stretched widely across his face. I felt my chest tighten. I couldn't take it any longer. I screamed into the void of the night, "What do you want?" There was silence, complete and heavy. No answer came back, only the hissing of my tires against the road. I was alone, but I knew I wasn't really alone. Something waited for me out there, hidden in the shadows. What would happen if I didn't reach safety? I didn't want to find out. I pressed on, white-knuckling the steering wheel as the weight of the truck's darkness pressed in. The road twisted beneath me, a ribbon of asphalt that seemed to stretch into infinite night. My mind raced, thoughts skittering like insects. I needed to focus. I needed to outrun whatever was chasing me. But when I looked in the rearview mirror again, the hitchhiker was gone. Just like that. My heart galloped in my chest. Was I imagining him? The adrenaline ran cold as I shifted my focus back to the road. Maybe I could convince myself I was just tired. A few miles wouldn't hurt. I could keep driving, keep moving. As I rounded a bend, the lights of a small town flickered in the distance. Hope swelled in my chest like helium in a balloon. I'd find a diner or a motel, somewhere that felt safe. I didn't care if it was a 2-bit hole in the wall. Any place with eyes and warm bodies felt better than the loneliness of the road. The closer I got, the more I noticed the signs of life. A gas station here, a flickering streetlight there. I was almost there. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. Then I heard it, the hiss of static from the radio again. "Mark, Mark." Panic twisted my gut. I glanced at the dial. The station I just left was long gone, yet that chilling whisper traveled through the static like an echo of dread. I switched it off, the silence louder than any noise. No more. I refused to let it get into my head. As I entered the town, my headlights illuminated the empty streets and the darkened windows of the closed shops. It looked abandoned, like the ghost of a place that had once lived. I rolled through the thin veneer of comfort. The hitchhiker's face loomed again in my mind, that sickly smile sending a fresh wave of chills down my spine. That's when I saw it, a figure at the far end of the street. The hitchhiker. But how? I hadn't stopped. How could he have gotten here? My heart raced again as I leaned forward, squinting through the windshield. Was this all some twisted game?
I hit the brakes hard, gravel crunching beneath my tires. My pulse thudded in my ears. This was it. Confronting him might be my only way out. I stepped out of the truck, night air slicing through me like a knife. "What do you want?" I shouted, the question hanging heavy in the still air. The figure turned slowly, revealing a face that wasn't just familiar, it felt too familiar. It was as if I was looking at a warped reflection of myself. How was that possible? "Are you ready to stop?" he asked, voice dripping with mock sincerity. My stomach dropped. The resemblance was undeniable, yet something darker lurked behind those eyes. My instincts screamed at me to run, to get back behind the wheel, to drive until the sun came up or until I found safety somewhere else. But there was nowhere to hide or run. I felt trapped. Then everything shifted. A light flickered on in a nearby building. Without thought, I turned toward it instinctively. The welcoming glow beckoned, promising safety. But when I tugged desperately at the door, it wouldn't budge.
I was locked out, isolated in a nightmare of my own making. Behind me, the hitchhiker was closer now, that chilling smile etched into his face. A whisper echoed around me, filling the air with an inescapable dread. "You can't escape who you are, Mark." Before I could respond, darkness closed in, swallowing me whole. Silence left me gasping, and for a moment, I forgot where I was. What was happening? In the aftermath of that moment, I realized, whatever it wasn't done with me yet. I blinked against the darkness, feeling disoriented. The moment stretched, my senses scrambling to grasp an anchor. Somewhere in the distance, I heard the rustle of leaves, a reminder that I wasn't truly alone. I took a deep breath, my eyes slowly adjusting to the dim light filtering in. "Mark." The voice was closer now, smoother yet tinged with an unsettling reverberation. My pulse quickened as I took a cautious step back, only to feel the hard edge of the truck pressing against my back. There was nowhere to go. "What do you want?" I asked again, my voice shaking. "Why do you look like me?" The figure, my figure, tilted its head, amusement playing in its expression. "You haven't figured it out yet? This isn't about me, Mark. It's about you." I swallowed hard, dread coiling in my stomach. "What do you mean?" "Every choice you've made has led you here. You think you can just drive away from yourself?" He gestured toward the dark buildings around us, their shadows inching closer as if they were listening. "This town is a reflection of your mind. You have to confront it to escape." I shook my head, struggling to understand. I didn't ask for this. I didn't want any of it. The hitchhiker's smile widened, unsettling in its sincerity. "You think you get to reject who you are, reject your fears? You can't outrun what's inside." The words hung in the air like a ghost. I turned my gaze back to the building, its light flickering insistently, and I wondered, could there be a way in? Could there be safety inside? "Stop wasting time," the hitchhiker said, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "You may think you're the driver, but you are just the passenger in your own life. Are you going to let that control you?" Something snapped inside me. I wouldn't let him bully me. In that instant, I charged toward the building, desperation propelling me forward. I slammed my shoulder against the door again and again, and finally, it creaked open. I stumbled inside, gasping as the door swung shut behind me. I turned to find myself in a narrow hallway painted in peeling blue, shadows creeping along the walls. The air felt heavy and stale, as if it hadn't seen anyone in years. I pressed my back against the door, trying to catch a breath. "Mark," the voice came again, softer but still haunting. "You can't escape this place. It's part of you now." Panic surged through me. What did he mean? I had to find a way out. I took a step forward, running my hands along the walls, searching for a clue or an exit. Just as I began to feel my way blindly toward the back, I noticed something glinting on the floor. An old key. My breath quickened, but before I could react, I heard a soft shuffle nearby. I turned to see a shadow moving toward me, and fear gripped my heart once more. Someone's here. I backed away, my thoughts racing. I couldn't face whatever or whoever that was. But I needed to know. I needed to find out what I had walked into and what it all meant. Then the lights flickered,
casting erratic shadows that twisted against the walls. Clarity hit me like a brick. The hitchhiker wasn't just a reflection, he was a part of this nightmare I'd built. I picked up the key, knuckles pale as I clutched it tightly. I had to confront this, whatever it was, and as I heard the footsteps halt just beyond the corner, I understood. This was only the beginning. I took a moment to steady my breath, gripping the key tightly. The shadows danced around me, growing restless as the footsteps fell silent. I glanced back toward the door, but I didn't want to go back out there, not with him waiting. "Mark," the voice called again, clearer now and oddly patient. "You need to face this." I hesitated. Face what? Who are you? Instead of an answer, I heard something scraping against the floor, a slow, deliberate noise that sent ice running through my veins. I edged closer to the sound, drawn by an inexplicable curiosity. There was a door at the far end of the hall, its surface rough and worn. It felt like it had secrets of its own. I moved forward, the key bouncing against my palm with each step. My heart raced. Was I really going to open that door? The sound grew louder, and I had to know. I reached it, my fingers hovering just above the doorknob. That's when I saw it. A hand emerging from the shadows, followed by a face shrouded in darkness. For a moment, I froze. It looked like me, but twisted. Its smile, though familiar, sent a chill racing through me. "Welcome back," it breathed, and the air grew colder. My instincts screamed at me to run. I slammed the door shut behind me, heart pounding like a madman in my chest. But there was nowhere to hide here. I couldn't escape. "What do you want from me?" I shouted, trying to keep my composure. "Just the truth," it replied, stepping closer, the shadows swirling around it like a cloak. "You've hidden from it long enough. Don't you want to know who you really are?" "No," my voice cracked, an echo of desperation. "I don't want anything to do with you." Then I felt it, a pressure building in the air, suffocating almost. The realization hit me like a tidal wave. This wasn't just a figure of my imagination. This was my darkness, my fears made flesh. I had to confront it. "Face it, Mark," it taunted with that same twisted smile. "You can't run from what you've become."
I glanced down at the key in my hand, a lifeline to whatever awaited behind that door. Taking a deep breath, I turned back, and with trembling hands, I twisted the knob. It clicked open, and I pushed the door wide. Inside, the light flickered erratically, revealing a room cluttered with memories, photographs of faces I recognized, places I used to go. Each could either comfort me or tear me apart. The walls closed in around me, each image pulling me into deeper confusion. But amidst the chaos, I saw something shimmering on a table, something I never thought I'd find. It was a small, faded letter, the edges tattered but still legible. I hesitated, picturing the hitchhiker's face, his mocking words still echoing in my mind. I approached the table, feeling drawn to it despite the unease swirling in my gut. What more would I uncover? I picked up the letter, the weight of it heavy in the air. A part of me dreaded what would be revealed, but another part, the part that needed to understand, desired it. As I unfolded the paper, everything around me seemed to dim, anticipation clawing at my chest. I couldn't help but wonder, would I find answers or only more questions? The moment I unfolded the letter, a gust of cold air rushed through the room. It was as if the very walls pushed back against me, but I couldn't let the fear take over. My fingers trembled as I read the delicate handwriting, a flood of emotions washing over me. "Mark," it began, "if you're reading this, it means you've finally come to terms with the past. There are things you don't understand, things I didn't want you to know." My breath got. What did this mean? I felt dizzy, my surroundings spinning as the words twisted their way into my mind. My eyes drifted back to the dark figure lurking in the shadows. It seemed to lean closer, drawn into my struggle like a moth to a flame. "The shadows don't lie," the letter continued. "You must confront them. There's a truth buried deep within that can change everything you think you know." I hesitated, searching for clarity amidst the tangle of uncertainty. What truth? Who wrote this? But the figure merely smirked, its crooked smile a reminder of my own buried fears. Suddenly, something in the room shifted. The photographs on the wall swirled around me as if they were alive,
a tempest of memories longing to be acknowledged. I clenched the letter tighter, hoping it would ground me. "Please," I whispered to it, "just tell me what I need to do." As if in response, the room brightened momentarily, illuminating a photograph that caught my eye. I stepped closer, the letter still clutched in my hand. It showed my younger self standing beside someone I barely recognized, a woman with warm eyes and a knowing smile, her arm wrapped around my shoulders. "Who are you?" I murmured, recognition flickering like a distant memory. I felt a strange connection to her, an emptiness I didn't even know existed. Then, without warning, the shadows deepened again.
The room felt smaller. The figure surged forward, its voice low and haunting. "You're better than this, Mark. You know it's time to remember." I turned away from the photo and the letter, but they felt like weights anchoring me. The darkness around me thickened, clogging my throat. I had to either confront this fragment of myself or let it consume me whole. "Stop!" I shouted, feeling the panic rising inside me. "I won't let you in. I refuse." The shadows roared in response, swirling like a storm around me. I felt them tighten, suffocating. I couldn't breathe. Shaking, I understood then. I had to find the truth, not just about that woman, but about myself and what lay ahead. With renewed determination, I faced the figure. "I'll find me. I will face this." It chuckled softly, its grin wide. "Then you know what you need to do." Before I could turn back, the winds shifted, swirling faster as the entire room dimmed into darkness. All coherence shattered. Then, silence. A chill ran down my spine. I could feel the key burning in my palm, a reminder that something still awaited outside this room. I fumbled for the doorknob, my heart pounding against the surge of fear. Whatever lay beyond was a path I had yet to explore. But a new thought slipped through my mind, heavy and ominous. What if I didn't like what I found? Tentatively, I twisted the knob again, ready to confront whatever awaited me on the other side. But as the door creaked open, I felt something grip my shoulder, something icy. Someone was behind me. I spun around, heart racing, my breath hitching in my throat. The figure from the shadows stood close, its appearance more defined now, a tall silhouette wrapped in darkness, the features obscured, but still eerily familiar. I could almost discern its expression, a mixture of amusement and something far more sinister. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice coming out louder than I intended. The figure didn't answer. "What do you want from me?" The figure moved, its form shifting like mist. In an instant it was gone, leaving me alone with the letter. I glanced around, panic creeping in. I needed clarity, a thread to hold on to. That's when I noticed it, a faint light flickering in the corner of the room, where the shadows thickened. Driven by instinct, I moved toward the light, but hesitated at the threshold, dread tightening my chest. There, tangled in the shadows like a forgotten relic, I saw a small box. It was embellished with intricate carvings that danced with hints of gold under flickering light. Something about it felt significant, like it held the answers I desperately sought. I knelt, trembling, and reached for the box. As I touched it,
An electric shock coursed through my fingers. A rush of images flooded my mind, moments from my past, faces I had lost. The warmth of the woman's smile mixed with shadows of pain and regret. "What is this?" I whispered. In response, the box clicked open, releasing a puff of air that smelled of old parchment and secrets long buried. Inside, there was a key, an ornate key that glimmered with a promise of what lay beyond this moment. I instinctively knew it was connected to the letter, perhaps the very key to unlocking the truth I had been seeking. But then I felt a presence behind me again. I whipped around, the weight of the shadows pressing against me. The figure had returned, its grin wider than before, eyes aglow with an unsettling light. "Time to decide," it said, its voice a haunting echo. "Take the key and discover the truth, or step back into the shadows forever." My heart raced as I stared at the key, uncertainty clouding my mind. I had to choose, but which way would lead me to understanding? The weight of the past bore down on me, and the shadows loomed closer, eager to claim me once more. Everything hinged on my next move. As I tightened my grip on the key, the vision of the woman flashed in my mind again. "I won't let you down," I murmured to her memory. Suddenly, the room trembled, the walls shook, and the light flickered violently. I had to make a choice now. As the shadows threatened to engulf me, I took a breath and stepped forward, key in hand. The moment my foot crossed the threshold into the flickering light, everything changed. The room warped, expanding and contracting like a breathing creature. My pulse surged as I felt the ground beneath me shift. I grasped the key tightly, the cool metal grounding me amid the chaos. The walls reflected dim hues of color, revealing ancient whispers hidden in the carvings. My surroundings twisted, and I was drawn toward a door that hadn't been there a moment ago, the keyhole beckoning like an eye watching me. "What are you waiting for?" The figure sneered from the shadows, its voice twisted with taunts. "Open it." I hesitated, doubt flooding my mind. What lay behind that door? Would understanding lead to solace, or more pain?
Think about her, I reminded myself, clutching the key. Those words rose in my memory, the promises I'd made. As if sensing my resolve, the figure took a step forward, shadows pooling around it like a dark mist. "You can't run from your past, Mark. The door reveals your truth." I could feel the weight of its gaze, compelling yet suffocating. With a deep breath, I moved forward, my heartbeat an erratic drum in my ears. I slid the key into the lock and felt a tremor of electricity pulse through the metal. The door creaked open, its hinges screeching a warning that reverberated through my bones. A blinding light burst forth, blurring the lines between past and present. I couldn't see what lay beyond, but I could feel its heat. It called me, demanded that I step through. Then I heard her voice again, soft, gentle, breaking through the chaos. "Choose wisely, Mark." "Why do you keep haunting me?" I shouted into the brightness, filled with both fury and anguish. No response came, only the deafening silence of my own heartbeat. Fueled by a sudden surge of determination, I braced my shoulders and stepped into the light. Instantly, I felt an overwhelming rush. Memories clawed their way to the surface. Days spent laughing, moments filled with joy, but also the aching loss that weighed me down. But the brightness slowly dimmed to reveal a stark and empty landscape. I stood on a deserted highway, the asphalt cracking beneath my feet. The air felt heavy, thick with an undescribable weight. I turned around, but the door had vanished, replaced by endless stretches of roadway that disappeared into the horizon. "Welcome back," the figure intoned from a distance, now more defined but still shrouded in shadows. Its expression twisted into a mockery of a grin. "Are you ready to face what you've left behind?" I stood frozen, terror clawing at my insides. This wasn't what I expected. I had chosen, but the path was even darker than before. I was no longer in the safety of my home. I was on a lonely road, isolated and vulnerable. "That's when I saw it," I murmured, catching sight of something moving in the distance. A car approaching but flickering in and out like a mirage. Fear coursed through me. Would it bring help or another confrontation? Whatever it was, I needed to know. "Mark," the figure whispered, inching closer, its voice chilling the air. "Are you ready to meet it?" I turned my focus back to the approaching vehicle, uncertainty gripping my throat. The car drew closer, its headlights piercing the darkness like searching eyes.
I could barely make out the shape through the haze, but it moved with an unsettling confidence. It felt like it was heading straight for me, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. A surge of anxiety crashed over me. Should I wave it down? No, that seemed like a terrible idea. I was stuck between stepping off the road or confronting whatever was coming toward me.
The figure's presence pressed harder against my back, a weight that made it difficult to breathe. "Mark," it said again, its tone dripping with mockery. "You can't hide from what's on its way. It's been waiting for you." My heart raced, and I fought the urge to look back at the shadows. I had to focus on what was real, what was happening right in front of me. The car's outline grew clearer, and I started to notice more details. The engine roared like a beast awakening, a sound that vibrated through the ground beneath me. I stepped back instinctively, the asphalt crunching under my weight. The headlights flickered, and the vehicle swerved slightly, a reminder of its chaotic nature. I didn't know if I was ready for this. Memories threatened to spill from my mind, memories I wasn't sure I could handle. As the car approached, an unsettling thought hit me. What if it wasn't a stranger driving? What if it was someone I knew? I felt my breath hitch at the impossibility of such a meeting in this desolate stretch of road. But the figure behind me cackled, fueling my fear. The car stopped just a few feet away. The engine died, and a suffocating silence fell around me. The door swung open, revealing a shadowy figure silhouetted against the last remnants of light. I squinted, trying to make out any features. "Mark?" The voice was eerily familiar, sending a jolt through me. It sounded like her. "Is that—" My voice faltered. "Get in," she urged. "We don't have any time to waste." Panic surged anew. It couldn't be her. It was impossible. But the familiar cadence of her voice sparked something deep within me, a warmth I had forgotten. I took a step closer, needing to bridge the gap between reality and memory. "You're not real," I shouted, the words escaping before I could think. The figure flinched, but there was no surprise on its face. An inscrutable expression settled in the shadows, one that twisted my stomach. "How long will you deny it?" I glanced back at the figure staying behind me, still lurking, mocking my struggle. It was like a dark cloud overshadowing the light. I felt torn between two worlds, the comforting illusion of hope and the haunting specter of reality. A horn blared suddenly, jarring me back to the moment at hand. The driver's expression was unreadable, but the urgency in her eyes sparked a desperate instinct within me. "Please, Mark," she pleaded, "you have to trust me." I shifted my weight, heart pounding. To step forward meant risking everything. I took a breath, every instinct screaming at me to run, but something deep inside urged me to step closer. I had to confront the truth. Before I could decide, the figure behind me began to laugh, a sound sharp enough to cut through the tension. As I stood teetering on the brink of choice, I got a glimpse of something shifting amongst the shadows, something too familiar. And I realized with horror, I might not be ready for what waited within that car. I took a step back, torn. The driver's eyes were pleading, but behind me, the figure was relentless, laughing like it was enjoying the show. My breath quickened as I struggled to process reality. The two stark choices loomed before me, the familiar warmth and hope of the figure in the car, or the dark uncertainty that hung in the air. "Mark, please," she cried again, desperation threading through her voice. "We can't waste any more time." I hesitated. I felt trapped in a twisted moment of déjà vu, every instinct telling me to run. The figure behind me whispered, "There's nothing waiting for you in that car but more pain. Just look at your past." "Shut up," I snapped, feeling a surge of anger mixed with fear. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to see the face of someone who once brought me joy instead of anguish. Then the headlights flickered again, cutting through the twilight. I glanced back inside the car. A piece of paper sat on the passenger seat, crumpled but barely visible. It looked like a map, the edges torn as if someone had grasped it tightly in distress. It sparked a flicker of awareness within me. "What's that?" I called out, pointing toward it. "What's going on?" "It doesn't matter," the driver shouted.
Get in, now. We need to go. The laughter from the figure behind me shook the silence again, louder this time. You don't even know what you're running from, do you? You think that paper can save you. Without thinking, I took a step toward the car. But just as I did, the laughter intensified, morphing into something darker, more sinister. I couldn't tell if it was echoing from my past or the shadows themselves. "Mark, don't!" she yelled, her eyes wide, full of fear, now mirroring my own. I stopped, caught. Something deep inside resonated with her urgency, but that damn laughter suffocated my thoughts. I felt as if I were in a nightmare where every decision only tightened the noose around my neck. Then, just when I thought I might break, I saw the shadows shift again. I cautiously looked back. There, in the deeper part of the darkness, was a figure much taller, broader, lurking closer. "Mark, it's coming," the figure in the car warned. "We need to leave now." A cold chill swept through me. The laughter subsided, replaced by a tense silence that felt heavier than before. I glanced down at the map, my heart racing. I could barely see it, but something felt like it was calling me, revealing a truth just out of reach. "Take the chance," the driver urged. "Trust me." The figure loomed behind me, waiting, willing to pounce on my hesitation. I knew I had to decide. Just as I moved, a loud crash echoed somewhere off the road, shaking the ground beneath me. I whipped my head back, instinct screaming. Then it hit me, a moment of clarity. "Mark," the driver shouted, her voice filled with urgency. "You have to decide now." Then everything went dark.
When I opened my eyes again, the shadows had receded. I found myself standing on the side of the empty road, my truck parked silently a few feet away, the distant echoes of a fading dawn stretching across the horizon. For a moment, I believed it had all been a dream, a horrific figment of my tired mind. But as I spotted the faint outline of the hitchhiker at the edge of the town's outskirts, I felt the looming dread return. He stood there, still cloaked in shadows, a smile carved into his face. I recognized that smile, yes, but the chill it sent down my spine felt colder now. Perhaps this was the truth, a reflection of parts of me still veiled in darkness. His voice echoed, sharp and mocking in the early morning calm. "Did you really think you could just drive past everything you've left behind?" I took a step back, grounding myself in the tangible, the road beneath my feet. I was alive, the sun rising to wash the landscape in golden light, but the remnants of that surreal encounter lingered, tightening my chest with a looming sense of uncertainty. Every choice I had made felt like layers of a heavy quilt woven from fear and regret. Forcing myself to turn away from the figure, I caught a glimpse of movement, a flicker of light from the direction my truck faced. In the brightness of day, I could finally see the town more clearly. The shadows that had once embraced it crept back, but now they seemed exposed, raw. The diner I had longed for stood vaguely familiar, though the air was still filled with an unease that didn't dissipate with the new dawn. Maybe it would answer some questions. Maybe I could finally confront the truth. I walked toward it, each step feeling strangely final. Would I recognize the faces inside, or would they morph into haunting specters like the hitchhiker? The bell jingled softly as I pushed through the door. Inside, the diner was sparsely populated with a few early risers, murmurs of half-heard conversations threading through the air. No one seemed to pay me much mind, thank God. I slid onto a bar stool, pressing my hands into the cool, worn surface. My heart raced, the weight of my memories threatening to drag me back down. But I was here now, standing on the precipice of something I had to face. The waitress approached, her smile washed over with kindness. "Coffee?" she asked. I nodded, words failing me. As she poured, I caught sight of another figure in the reflection of the glass. A fleeting glimpse of familiarity stopped me cold. The woman from the photograph. "Is everything okay?" the waitress asked, noticing my frozen stare. Just a memory," I managed to reply, locking eyes with her. But as the moment passed, the figure faded, leaving only the weight of my own choices against the haunting drive home. The coffee was steaming when it arrived, crisp, dark, and somehow reminiscent of safety. As I took a sip, the bitterness washed over me, grounding me in reality. I could feel the hitchhiker still lurking in the corners of my mind, a specter of my past, waiting in the shadows. "Mark?" A voice reached me, soft but familiar. I turned to see another figure stepping into the diner, filled with light, a woman with warm eyes and a gentle smile. It was her, the one from my memory. "I knew you'd find your way back." My heart raced, a mixture of hope and despair battling within me. I stammered. "I'm here," she reassured me, as though understanding the turmoil within, yet disappearing as quickly as she had appeared. The phantom of her presence flickered away, leaving an emptiness that pressed against my chest. There were answers woven into this town, buried truths I couldn't ignore. As I sat there, I realized my journey wasn't merely about fleeing the past, but confronting what had been abandoned. I felt the world shift underneath me, uncertainty coiling in my gut. Outside, the figure still stood, a mere silhouette now, but the knowing in his smile persisted. I couldn't tell if he was laughing or waiting, but I knew one thing was certain. The road wasn't done with me yet. Tomorrow would come with more questions, and I would still be searching for answers. As the sun began to rise higher, casting light into the shadows of the diner, I understood that the real journey was never about the destination, but the unveiling of truths I never wanted to face. I took another deep breath, deciding that perhaps today would be the day I'd begin to find out what the darkness truly meant. But still, I couldn't shake the feeling that my troubles were far from over, the thread of my past still weaving itself into the fabric of my days. I had escaped, yes, but the journey was only beginning.